Good.
Oh, well, who knows if you should.
April doesn't trust me, so you should.
Do we need to do...
Are we good?
Where she's Molly, or she's April, she's Molly?
Give the talent. Go for it.
Do you want to do that, or do you want to add it in when we go?
We'll do it later.
Okay.
We'll do it post, because I think doing it every time we go live.
No, I meant we can, that's fine. So one of us needs to start with like, hey everybody, we're here. Do you want to be intro, or you want me to?
You can. It's fine.
All right, I'll do that.
And I'll do it next week.
Next book.
book.
Perfect. Sorry.
No.
These are things we should have figured out beforehand.
No. Let me get
I have it on the. I have a thing on the thing already.
You what?
What is she doing? Katie already
There's
has a
already
sign.
a sign on the door.
You can hang yours though. It's probably better than mine. Yeah, better than mine. Mine just literally says live. Shh.
I like it. You get the point.
All right, we're ready when you are, Tom.
Okay.
Hold on, let me open the door, put this on there, and then I'll sit down. So I'm not moving in the background. Sorry. I gotta get my phone. Get my phone, because I'm so ready.
She's our hype woman.
Forever and always.
And always.
6, 5, 4.
Oh, Katie, can you please hit it live on my phone?
Phone.
Is it on? Are we already streaming?
It's locked.
Yes.
Great.
What's your code?
I don't want to give it to you.
We're live. And we're live. Hi, guys. We are at the Annapolis Book
We're
Festival.
at the Annapolis Book Festival. And we will be here all day live streaming. And this episode will be turned into a full normal podcast episode to premiere on May 9th. But we will be interviewing some authors, and today we are starting with the lovely and talented Nikki Payne, author of Pride and Protest.
Oh!
And oh my goodness. So, quick information about Nikki. Well, first of all, thank you for coming, Nikki.
Oh my goodness.
Thank
yes.
you
both
for
for having
sitting
me.
down with us.
But guys, you need to know, we met Nikki last night, and we're already besties.
Yes.
Already.
She's
it happened
she's in the
very
inner
fast.
circle already.
She's a book bestie already.
If it were a romance trope, I think it would be Insta Love.
Insta Love,
It would be
Which
Insta
is
Love.
like my least favorite.
Fated Mates? Yeah.
Fated Mates. Fated Mates.
Yeah.
We're a trope already.
Only
We are a
Fated-
trope already.
Only if there are bat wings involved. So, information about Nikki. Nikki is I love this, curious doctor of anthropology and big tech. Great description. The other thing,
Big smart.
Subvert canon literature. Love that.
Big words, gang.
So
Big
your
words.
first book is Pride and Protest, and your book that's coming out in the fall is Sex, Lies, and Sensibility, which is Schitt's Creek meets Insecure. And we're going to talk about that a little bit too. Nikki is nope, those are not the words. Nikki is a member of Smut U, a premium feminist writing collective, and is a cat lady with no cats.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, she
have
is on
some. You can
TikTok
borrow.
and Instagram. You guys should check her out there. Her stuff is really great. We are following her at Book Besties. So, yeah. So, thank you so much again for coming and chatting with us.
So awesome.
Thank
We're
you
so
both for having
excited.
me.
We're so excited to have you.
As am I.
So, when we got the author list and we were able to pick who we wanted to
Literally,
talk to,
Trish
was
is like,
like, just pick whatever you want. So I went through the list and I looked at everybody's bios and I looked what they wrote and I was like, we want to interview her.
Yeah.
This looks smutty.
you were our first on both of our lists.
Yes.
Yeah.
First on
Yes.
both. Yes.
Yeah.
And we were like, because we read a lot of romance for the pod.
We do.
Mostly because, like, for me, like, I'm a new romance reader. It's only been, like, the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like a brain break. Like,
Yeah.
it's a cozy
It's
little
warm.
warm blanket.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my husband right there, so he doesn't mind that I read romance novels. So, how did you get into writing romance?
I'm one of those elder millennials who
Yes, us too.
who cut her teeth on books above her pay grade.
Because we were reading those red books with Grandma at the dinner table.
Absolutely. So that's
Those
another
grocery
thing.
store paperbacks. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Our grandmas, our mothers,
Right.
like, they would leave these kind of books half open.
Right.
Like my
The
grandmother's
spine is
reading,
cracked in all the best places.
My grandmother's reading this like Johanna Lindsay, and it's like, these racially ambiguous characters, and you peel it open, it just happens to be in the middle, and there's a heaving bosom.
Yeah, and you're like,
something's
Grandma.
quivering. Something's quivering. You're like, this shouldn't happen. This better not awaken anything in me sexually.
I'm 12.
I love Community, by the way. That was a great quote from there.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing.
I
what
got the
was
humor,
doing.
yes.
Yeah, so I was like one of those people that was reading precociously.
Yeah.
And one of the first places where I felt safe to, like, where I saw women, like, actually experiencing joy was in romance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you read widely, and I was also one of those people, like, early reading Stephen King or reading
Yeah.
thrillers, like, women out here getting abducted. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They're out here getting
Lots of
chopped up.
murder.
Lots of murder.
Lots of stabbies.
Yeah, we're getting killed, we're
They're getting
murdered,
murdered,
we're like, yeah.
bodies
And we're never
dragged.
focus characters. We're
Yes.
always the secondary
Secondary
characters.
character
Yeah.
that highlights the like manliness or the attractiveness of the main
Right.
character
Of the white male character.
of the white male character, and like, and we're also not having orgasms in
Right.
those
Word.
other genres.
We need
you
to
know?
have orgasms in all the books.
in all
okay?
the books.
In all the books.
You know, just like at least before the guy gets to us. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
Before they chase us
Right.
down in the woods.
We're important too,
We're
Greg.
important
Right,
too.
right.
So the reason why I love romance is that it was one of those first genres that made like women's joy and women's pleasure not seem silly.
Yes.
And the stakes seemed high.
Yes.
And it was important, and I love
It was,
Yeah.
your needs are valid, just like everybody else's.
Yes.
And I sort of like what I like about our current like social media platforms and like Bookstagram and Book Talk is that there are women that are saying like this is not garbage reading.
No.
This is quality reading.
Yeah.
We get a story, a complete character,
Yeah.
and we get orgasms.
And we're
Hello.
using our mind.
And we're using our mind.
We're using our
Right.
mind. And when you read, you're expanding your vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Think of all the euphemisms for sexual organs in romance.
Right.
I would have never known to call anything a member.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, come on.
member.
His quivering member.
Quivering member.
Yeah, come on.
So I loved this quote from your bio that you say you want to subvert canon literature. So can you go into that a little bit with us? Tell us what inspires that.
Oh gosh, I love the classics. I'm one of those people that I read a ton of classics. I was a English minor. I took so many English
Major.
Yeah, I took so many English courses. Even though I ended up going anthropology all the way.
Yeah.
I took so many English courses, so I could have had a major, and I loved classic literature.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found very interesting about classic literature was that it occupies this like kind of natural space, you know, in our imagination. So if you were to say like more gruel, please,
Yes.
you know, like
Yes.
someone would immediately think like Oliver Twist,
Right.
or like
Yes.
Please,
Orphans.
sir, may I have some more?
Exactly.
It's
like,
the beginning of the zeitgeist.
exactly.
Right,
And so like what I love about like placing like characters of color or queer characters in those classic spaces is that it repackages these well-known things that are kind of already existing in the public imagination and like forces a different type of story
Oh, absolutely.
into the mix.
You're taking a comfortable, their blankie and
Yeah.
changing the color of
Oh
it.
my gosh, that's
Right.
it. It's a
Right.
Trojan horse. It's
It's
just like,
Trojan
you
horse.
love Jane Austen. She's so safe. She's so white. Bam.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha, dummies. You know what I mean?
Last night.
Ha!
So we actually
Gotcha.
we met Nikki last night at the author event that the Key School hosted for all of their authors, and you said to me, "I'm going to introduce it as, do you like Jane Austen? How about with this?
Yeah.
Please let me know how that goes."
Yeah. It was going over like a lead balloon in that crowd, but you know, but I'm getting better at the pitch.
Yeah.
know?
I mean, I think it's great. And so I was an English major. I was an English education major, so basically an English major. And now I'm a librarian. And one of the things I kind of pride myself on is that there's a lot of classic lit that I haven't read. And Pride and Prejudice is actually one that I haven't read. I've seen Colin Firth's adaptation.
Moment of silence.
All three of us just pause.
And I've also seen the Keira Knightley version, which
Matthew
is...
McFadden.
Yeah.
Moment for the hand flex.
Oh, man, the hand flex.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
first like sex scene I could watch in front of my
Yeah.
family. You know what I mean?
All it was just...
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Oh, exactly. It's like, woo, that did it. That was enough. That was
I
And
shifted
we're done.
my seat a little.
my seat. The word of the day. Do you guys remember
Seat
Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Yes.
When
Yes.
you said one word and everyone would scream?
Yeah.
Whenever someone says shift in my seat, I'm just going to go, ah!
That's amazing.
I love it. I love it.
That's amazing. So I have, like I said, I've seen the movies, never read the book, but this was an amazing adaptation.
It's spectacular.
It's such a good, like, modern retelling. And one of the things that,
Relevant story.
one of the things I liked about it, I was surprised by. Okay, I could tell that our main character was African American.
Yeah.
Our
That's
main
a
male character, I was like, I think he's probably a person of color, but maybe he's white.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure. I really thought it was an interesting twist that he's Asian and adopted by a white family. So what made you make that choice?
That's a fantastic question, and I want to go back a little bit because
Yes, let's do it.
like I was very intentional on like the
It's
like,
very apparent you're
racing and
yeah.
gendering these people in a particular way. So
You're playing chess.
oh yeah, no. So as a my background is in anthropology, and I did a ton of research on aesthetics and power. Kind of
Right,
what we
right.
find beautiful and why,
Right.
and what is it attached to.
Right.
And oftentimes people using technology to you know like when you think about beautifying yourself for a dating app, the types of changes that you make,
Yeah.
and like what are you saying about your relationship
Right.
to
Yeah.
power, and so in researching a ton of this dating app data, very, very interesting book. It's called Dataclysm if you're just very interested in
Yeah.
getting nerdy.
Okay.
But what we found was that in this kind of dating atmosphere world,
Yeah.
Black women and Asian men were the least responded to
Yeah.
in these
Really?
dating apps. And there it was all wrapped up in our notions of like femininity and
The
masculinity.
stereotypes that
yeah,
come with it, yeah.
absolutely.
The
And this-
cliches and clicks we put with it.
Absolutely.
Asian men will only be a certain way.
Yeah,
Black
yeah.
women will only be.
If
They
you
expect
think about-
things,
Yeah.
and you
If you
yeah.
think about like the kind of old movies that we grew up with,
Yeah.
and there's an Asian male lead. If there was an Asian male lead, like was he
16
allowed to
Candles.
kiss the girl?
16 Candles.
Yeah.
16 Candles.
Has to
Lung
be
Duck
the
Dong.
outside
Yep.
character,
He needs to be
right?
the outside character.
Well,
even
and
with,
they,
like,
they
Rush
make it
Hour
cartoon,
or-
cartoonized. We can't be a serious character.
Yeah.
If you are Asian born, you are obviously a joke, which is not the case.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
or
even
you
if
get
you use-
emasculated in these
Right.
Yeah.
interesting ways.
And even if you use like a more modern thing, Big Bang Theory, right? So
Big
the
Bang
the
Theory.
Asian character on there is Indian.
Indian. And he's
soci-
foreign.
incredibly socially awkward.
Right, and-
He's
and
completely outside.
asexual.
Yeah.
And I think there's like some social work being done.
Yeah.
Right? Even Romeo Must Die, which is one of my favorite books.
Yeah.
It has all the movies has
Yeah.
all the tropes of like the guy gets the
Facts.
girl at
Yes,
the end, right?
yes.
And they don't even
Well,
kiss.
and,
Right.
well, look at movies from when we were kids. When they did Othello, and
Yeah.
Julia Stiles was in it, and they played into the race
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
And while Othello was intended to, Shakespeare did insinuate that Othello was of darker skin tone, the way they chose to do it back then, they could have used a lighter hand. They could have
Yeah.
used different brushstrokes to make that a smoother transition. And they just tried hammering it
Yeah.
hard. Like, see, we're inclusive. See, we're
Yeah.
doing it. And
Yeah.
it's just, Hollywood didn't smooth that transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and
and there's no tries.
Right.
And I'm a children's book librarian, a children's librarian, and so I read a lot of children's books. And the representation,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, and since I've started my career in 2011, it has changed a lot. We do have more inclusivity in Kids Lit, which is something like there's an awesome organization called We Need Diverse Books.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Please follow them. I'm a
Absolutely.
huge supporter of them. They are doing
If you're following in the
amazing
comments,
work.
put it down.
Yeah. And that is big push that in kids books we need to see people of color. We need
Because
to
they
see
need to
differently
see
abled
themselves.
people.
Yes.
So I bought this book for our library. I was so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, it's a book about a school, and it's the first day of school, and they have all the skin melanoma you can imagine, and then they have a kid who's using a mobility device, and I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. They're all background characters, and the main character is a white male.
Yeah.
And I was like,
on.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh, did you not hear us when we said, please be
Yeah.
inclusive?
Yeah.
This is not inclusive.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is just, here you go. We tried to give you what you wanted.
Yes. I mean, very much to that point of being intentional about this. Is like when you're thinking about revamping a classic, like one of the classics.
Yes.
Like you think like, what would happen if you made this witty, incredibly desirable main character woman,
Sexy as hell.
sexy as hell, a black woman from round the way, from Southeast, right, DC, and like, what if you made this brooding, canonically attractive, very rich,
Yeah.
and desirable male who fucks. Sorry,
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's okay. to say.
You are allowed to say that on
who
here.
fucks
Yeah.
an Asian male,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Like,
Right.
and so I was very intentional on
Yeah.
like
It's-
racing those
yeah.
characters. The way
Well,
they were.
you can see what you're doing. Your strokes are intentional. Every line is intentional. You can see. I'm not gonna lie. I'm halfway through the book, but I had a rough month getting ready for this.
Molly's been a little sick.
Been a little sick. So I'm like halfway through the book, but even to where I am, every line is intentional. You can see you've put time and thought into this. The moment that I noticed that and it stuck out for me was when she's coming to the first event and she's talking to him and she hands him the signs and thinks he's a Latino busboy. And
then tells him, "You're not even a real Latino."
Yeah.
Yes.
No, because he's Asian.
No,
Right.
no,
But
he was
see,
never a Latino.
and he's getting offended and she's like backtracking, and we're guilty of that now, right? And I mean, I've assumed someone's color. I'm sure you've assumed someone's
And
color.
someone's sexuality. We just actually talked about that. I still am very guilty of everyone's straight until they tell me otherwise.
Yeah.
And I assume I assume you're gay in one shape, shape, or
Molly's
form
the
until you come out
opposite.
straight.
Everyone's in the rainbow
You have to
mafia.
come out straight to me. If you're not in the alphabet mafia, you are.
I mean, you guys bring up a great point, was that this is an interesting kind of point of contention, right? When people talk about this. And there are two ways to read this. And I find that oftentimes if you have come from a place where you see your community look a certain way. So she's like doing something illegal, spoiler alert, and she's like pulling all these signs out of this car and she's sneaking out like into the side of this event. And she hears this voice like, "Hey, yo, like, what are you doing?"
Yeah. Right.
And she tenses up. She thinks she's going to get arrested. She thinks she's going to face consequences. She's afraid. And when she turns around, the voice doesn't match
The
who she
face,
sees.
right.
And what she sees is not, there wasn't some notion of, oh, this person is less than.
Right.
What she's experiencing is actually inclusivity.
Community.
Yeah, she's like, oh, this is one
My
of us.
people.
Yeah.
And she proceeds to tell him her entire plan.
Yeah.
And even to go so far as to give him the signs.
Yes.
To say,
To trust him.
Yeah.
to trust
To
him.
trust
Take
him.
care of these?
Will you take care of these? Like, you are in my community.
And then gave him money.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tipped
Yes.
him.
Tipped him.
And told him he could unionize.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You can have better than this.
Exactly. Like, she came there, and when she saw him, she said, oh, this is, like, these are my people. And so the notion of imagining that he was a waiter as a necessarily negative thing, like, I don't know if you remember, but, like, after she saw him, she was like, oh, we could get down being this waiter. You know what I mean? So, like,
She's like, I'll even let you take me dancing.
yeah, exactly. So, like, coding that as, like, seeing her, like, as her looking down
The
at
miscommunication trope is just spectacular.
Yeah, like, I don't think she was looking down at him. She
No,
was seeing
no,
him.
and I know, and it's just funny how he interpreted it versus how she interpreted it.
He absolutely saw it as a diss. Like, I'm not a waiter. She was like, you're a waiter. Let's get it.
Yeah, like, what up, my guy?
Exactly.
And I think there's something to be said about him being raised in a white family.
Oh,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. Because he absolutely didn't see community when he saw her.
No.
He was like, she is, he could see her on the streets of Cairo doing like a 3-card Monty. You know what I mean? He was like, she's a scammer.
Yeah, she's a scammer. Who is this girl coming in here to like destroy the event that's my event?
Yeah.
Like, all he saw her was the enemy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was a really cool take on it, especially because when you look at like the intricacies of his board, they don't see him as the leader either.
No.
He is not the white man who led us before, you know.
He's not.
And
he knows that intimately.
Yeah, so I thought that was really clever. So let's talk about the spice.
Oh,
Okay, so
love it.
So what is it like for you, like, to write these spicy sex scenes? Like, do you have like a process, a mindset you have to get into?
I absolutely.
Is there a
do.
glass of rosé going on?
There's no rosé, but what happens is I listen to like the filthiest songs, like the songs that your parents will say, that's gonna rot your brain. That's devil music. You know what I mean? Like if your grandmother would clutch her pearls, you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Oh my goodness, those are a lot of words. You know. So,
What are you doing?
Exactly. So just songs that I use songs a lot to like bring me into a.
So you have
emotional
playlists
spot.
for your books?
Oh, absolutely.
I do too.
Oh,
I do Spotify playlists.
Yes.
I make main character playlists. It's how I get to know my main character.
that's exactly it's honestly
amazing.
a way for your brain to get into the vibration.
So
of
you
that
turn.
character.
I use it to get in their head, in their mindset.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so when I'm writing spicy scenes, I'm like, for obvious reasons, like
So you have a
Beyonce's
sex
Partition.
track for this.
Absolutely have a sex 6 track.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely have a 6 track. It's a
Quality.
lot of The Weeknd. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a lot of like people like moaning in the background. A lot of Casey and
Mars.
Joe. Yeah, a lot of you want to tell me your name. You know what I mean? A lot of '90s R&B.
Nice.
Just.
Do we have
honestly.
Pony in there?
Oh no, Pony
Little
is
Keith
more.
Sweat.
Oh, Keith Sweat can beg for a lot of things.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I do a soundtrack. I get into the mind, and then I just start writing things. And when I'm writing, like if it doesn't turn me on, I delete it.
Yeah.
You know, like if I'm writing this and I'm just like, I'm not shifting in my seat.
Yeah, you gotta shift in that.
I'm not shifting in my seat. Then,
So let me ask you this: what's the one thing you cut out you wish you put it in?
Ooh, I cut out so much. There is this one scene.
But there's one regret.
There's one regret.
There's one regret.
Oh my gosh, with that night with Joseph Park and Dorsey was way longer than getting to
yeah.
So they like did all that, like Joseph Park took them like all over the place, and they stopped at this little like at this Korean karaoke joint, and I made Dorsey so uncomfortable when Joseph Park was like trying to like
just
convince
make
him
him
to like
comfortable. Yeah.
relax, and he was just like, I cannot relax, like this is not
He's
relaxing.
just a rod.
Yeah.
He's a straight rod.
And it was just these moments of him slowly unraveling. And by the time they got to the house, he was pretty unraveled, but no one got to see him like loosen the thread. So like by the house, everyone's just like, wow, he's ready to go. And it's like, well, he was teased out, you know?
Yeah, they worked on that. For
They
him.
worked.
So you were writing that one in dual narrators. So is that how you got into the different mindsets? You had the playlist for each of them?
I absolutely did.
I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love a good book with more than one point of view.
Yes.
That
I
is
do too.
that is me.
And it's interesting because some authors can struggle, right? And you have
Oh, we've read some that were
so struggle.
struggling.
But each voice is very distinct. You knew both characters. So did you write them parallel or did you write each storyline separately?
That's such a good point. Is that you write, and then the first draft you're like telling the story to yourself, and there's some instances where you write a story, a scene, and they're both together, and you're just like, this isn't actually the most interesting POV, right? Like, and you switch it out, and then you change the way that person thinks to say like, this person would find much more meaning in this interaction than the other person.
Yeah.
So sometimes you write the entire story out, and you're just like, this is the wrong POV, and you just move it around and switch it around. So yeah, absolutely dual POVs. One of the struggles I think with single POVs is that like you have to turn this other person that the other person is experiencing from the single point of view into a real whole 3D person that is only perceived from the other person's POV. And it's very hard for that character to not come off like a cardboard cutout of man.
And it's hard to write dimension when you're playing one person.
Yeah.
Because it's LARPing.
Yeah.
Writing is LARPing.
It always is.
It's just trying to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and hope you do it right.
Yeah.
It's hard. So are you a pantser or an outliner?
Oh man, I'm a plotster.
Oh.
Right? I'm a plotster. So what I do is develop these chunks of an outline to say like this has to happen, these collection of things have to happen. And then on the inside of those chunks, I'm just like, let's go wow.
So I do bullet points like that.
Yeah.
And then I just write paragraphs and that becomes your story.
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about Sex, Lies, and Sensibility. What can readers expect from this, and what's the release date?
Oh my gosh, the release date is February 13th,
February 13th,
2024.
2024.
And this book is so far, I'm just finishing like all of the edits, and I like to call it like Schitt's Creek meets Insecure. And it
Insecure
is
is so good.
Oh gosh, it is two sisters with very differing temperaments who find out at the worst possible moment, aka a funeral, that they are the outside children of their father. And all of the money, the life, the vibes that they originally had, the new family is like, honey, cool story. There's a jalopy
Cool story, bro.
there's a jalopy of a house that you can have, and it's in Maine. And best of luck to you.
Oh.
And so these two very different women away themselves to Maine, and before they can even like shake the dust off of their like last season boots, there is a eco tour advisor who is already using that house for his like kind of illegal squatting, you know, and
Of course he is.
yeah, absolutely.
he is.
He's a Native American lead, and he is like essentially telling them, "Hey, you can't do what you're doing," you know. And so this, what I love about this, my favorite part of this is like putting these two black women in this instance of like engaging with like the Native community, and coming there and saying like, "Oh, like this is my land," and the uncomfortableness by which they have to
Like,
to
yeah, be like,
engage
well,
with- yeah.
technically it's ours too.
And, and the Native community is like, no, you're not
it's
gonna
ours.
Columbus this. And imagine like these black women
Yeah.
like clutching their pearls like
Yeah.
moi,
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
a colonizer.
Right.
So like I just wanted to play with that moment.
That's
Like,
gonna,
that.
that'll be fantastic.
And I can't think of a single romance book where Native American is main character.
Never.
I can't.
I
Think of
can't
one at
either.
all. So that is going to be
Oh,
a great.
he's the main character, and he's
I
so
love
far
that.
my favorite hero. His name is Bear, and I would let me tell you something. Woo!
Bear's going to make us shift in our seat.
Bear's gonna make you shift. in
Bear's
your
gonna be
seat.
our new book boyfriend, Tyler.
We're adding him to the list.
That's what's
Fair
up.
So-
Well, you'll have to bring it to us
Yeah,
on Book
you
Besties.
should
I
come
absolutely
on.
will.
We'll do another
We'll
episode.
do a whole
I
episode.
would be here.
Yes.
As long as you'll have
Yes.
me.
We'll film virtually so you can just do it from the comfort of your home.
Let's do it. I'll just be in the back, like sweeping the floors in the back.
Maybe not that comfortable.
Give me a shot. Give me a shot.
Sometimes we have wine when we're doing it, so it's
We are
fine.
so grateful you made time for us today
you.
with the
Thank you.
busy
And
day.
what time is your panel today?
3 p.m.
3 p.m.
Ooh.
So if you're here at the Annapolis Book Festival, or if you are coming by the
Come on
Annapolis
down.
Book
Come on
Festival,
by. We'll-
come to Nikki's.
And don't forget to
presentation
follow
at 3
her
p.m.
on the socials.
Yes.
She is on, what is your handle?
TikTok, Instagram. I am Nikki Payne Books on Instagram, Nikki Payne Romance on TikTok, and Nikki Payne Books on Twitter. But Twitter is kind of a hellscape right
Yeah,
now.
don't
so
Twitter,
make your
just
choice.
avoid
Make your
Twitter.
choices. Yeah.
The fire.
You make good choices.
Make good choices.
That's all we can hope for people. Anything else before we go? Are you anything else you want to share with us?
I just want to say that the book besties are now my book besties.
Yes.
How did that happen?
We collect
Like you.
authors.
I love it. I love it.
We appreciate it so much.
Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much,
joining us.
Nikki.
We'll see you guys
Thank you,
with the
love
next
you.
author.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.